All right. Hope we sound good. Oh gosh.
Hope we sound much better now.
Yeah. We've got the power. Yeah, if we want to rag on audio, I'm not going to name names, but my God, the audio levels on this video are terrible.
Are they all peaking and stuff?
It's
like
like
donut media?
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, the probe up to speed. Oh my gosh, it's like he starts off, and of course, like Chris Pumphrey does the whole yelling thing. Like I get it. It's like the millennial appeal. But starts off yelling, and then like a minute 45 in, he's talking, and then just shoves the mic into his mouth, and it's like,
so it gets
bro,
this sort of thing.
I already adjusted because they play like a burnout clip in the beginning, and I already adjusted lowered to that, and then he starts talking normally, and I adjust it back up, and then he does the eating the mic thing. I'm like, all right, back down, and
eating the mic. Oh, this is nice.
Does it sound good?
Yeah, it sounds good. Those mics are way more sensitive than this, which is weird because this is boosted.
Yeah. Should I move this away a little bit? Probably be good here.
No, you're fine. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, that one doesn't have. There's more coming on. Amazon.
Oh.
That's like the cheapo. Well, I'm not gonna call it cheapo because we got these things for free. But a fan gave us like the Audio Technica podcast mics, these side input ones.
Okay, yeah.
It's so weird. They hear through where this is where they hear.
Oh,
they don't hear
okay.
here.
Right.
See, that's where you speak into.
So, yeah. So it's like directional.
Yeah. It's meant to be straight up and down.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas what I'm speaking into now is a video mic.
Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of thing you'd see on a camera.
Yeah. So I think actually the board's doing a good job at mixing it, although those here are more for vocal stuff. This is like a general purpose mic.
Mm-hmm.
I have more mic muffs on the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for that
then
one.
we can just shout.
Yeah.
And breathe.
Yeah, the plosives on those are pretty come through very well.
Yeah.
I have a pop filter floating around upstairs if you want it.
Oh, I think unless they say it's terrible, I think we'll be okay.
Okay.
People's choice.
All righty.
People's plosive choice.
The Jocko Willink podcast, they were using these for a while.
Yeah.
And Jocko is just eating the mic like that. And which is fine if you have the right, the stuff in front of it. When you eat the mic on those particular ones, there's very little pop filtering in them. Yeah,
because they started designing mics for people that aren't familiar with mic etiquette. And that's the problem. That's the solution that becomes a problem. Yeah. The whole making things easier, thus making them complicated.
Yeah.
The Zoom.
Oh, yeah.
Are we still recording on that?
Yeah. I'll just delete that one. And then we'll hold for sound on this new file. Okay. Hold for sound now.
Welcome to RCR Podcast number 76. I'm Nick.
I'm Brian.
I'm Ben.
I'm eating a burrito. Sorry. But also, this is a very important podcast because we have the subject of one of the most frequently asked questions on the RCR podcast, which is whatever happened to the RCR intern? And so this is Ben Wright, our former intern who did the Scion TC review. That was very well received.
Thank you.
And yes, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I still have a job. And right now, I think that's a big thing. And that's really what I'm number one thankful for in these times. So that's really good.
Yeah. So you are working at a production house or a radio station?
Production company. Yeah.
Okay.
So we do television. We're in Malvern. We do television, radio commercials, specializing in like automotive. So like car dealerships.
Nice.
And furniture store, the kind of things you do in 30 seconds, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if they would like me to say the name or not. So I'm just going to not. But if you know a production house in Malvern, we're probably it. Actually, there's a few of them. I did meet a friend of mine had a Hinge date who also worked for one. And I was like, what? Yeah, but they specialized in, I think, like explainer stuff, which we also do. But I'm an account coordinator, so I'm more of like a producer role, talking to voice talent, getting pieces together for the editors and all that stuff. Real burp.
Exquisite.
Yeah.
So
So Ben will be answering. We'll probably talk about motorcycle questions. He has a car question. And in fact, okay, you are currently driving a 5-speed Yaris.
Right. I have a 2008 Toyota Yaris S, which Kyle, who has all the other Toyotas that you've reviewed, informed me it's a rare car. So I didn't know that, but I am looking to replace it with another Yaris, unless there's someone that says, no, you should do this. But right now I have a Megan Racing muffler and lowering springs, so I'd like to just be able to take the whole assembly out of there, put a new starter in like 3 months ago, new brakes like 6 months ago. So I'd like to just take all my nice parts from my 190,000 mile Yaris and put them on a lower mile Yaris. So that's my plan.
It is a good plan. It is a nice idea, finding another one. Here's my dumb idea.
Okay.
Because you are selling your 626 that we also reviewed.
Yes.
That is your sort of parental car, drive around, highway cruiser.
Oh yeah. So good. Big sidewalls. Oh yeah. I had these like Enkeis, these 16-inch Enkeis on my car, and I drove it once to Harrisburg and realized I was, because they're 7 inches wide and they had summer tires. I got 30 miles per gallon on the way to Harrisburg. Normally I'm getting like 40 with the stock wheels. I got right now they're like 5.5-inch wide alloys that come on the S, 15 inches. So I destroyed my gas mileage and I was like, you know what, forget it. I'm going back to my regular wheels and I'll save the Enkeis for another one. But yeah, my highway cruiser is my 626 once I get the valve covers replaced.
Here's the suggestion of combining both of these things into one car.
Oh.
A car that's fun to drive around, has a buzzy engine,
okay,
manual transmission, 6 speeds, but it's also a comfortable highway cruiser. And it's a car that I didn't know exist. People in the podcast heard me talk about this before. And
I'm wondering if I have it in my head. Okay. Is it a newer car?
No.
Okay, never mind.
2000. This is nostalgia.
Okay.
Ooh, okay.
It
is, and you're going to think, because I didn't even know this car came with a 6-speed.
I know what you're going to say. Sir, go on.
What do you think it is?
No, never mind. Matrix XRS?
What?
Matrix XRS?
No, but right manufacturer.
Okay.
It's the Toyota Camry LE.
Okay.
Per PTA meeting, managing a grocery store.
Is that a 4-cylinder or 6, the LE?
Available at both.
Okay.
There was a 6-cylinder option.
Yeah.
Most of the manual transmissions came with, I believe, I forget which version of the E series double cam 4-valve black, like whatever version of blacktop. Engine has.
Yeah.
It may have been the base engine that was in the equivalent Celicas.
Okay.
So it will be working a little bit harder because this is a mid-size car. But on the other hand, you have 6 speeds to work with.
Yeah.
And you have an engine that is sort of woken up a little bit through that transmission.
Okay.
They're available in many flavors of beige. So they're very, very stealthy.
Okay.
And I see a few of them both on Facebook Marketplace and on Craigslist. Your prices are hovering around from $4,000 to $6,000.
Okay.
Both in dealership and private sales. I don't know if something like this could be a flip, because most people who want the small manual transmission want the Corolla, as a small thing, But I believe the Corollas are 5 speeds.
I would believe
Camrys
that
would be 6s,
unless you had like that rare, what is it, the Corolla XRS or something like that. There was like the one that was actually good.
I hope you like 93 octane,
right?
That's what you're putting in.
And that's oof. So I mean, that's what my Mazda takes. But so what year? Because I'm trying to get an idea of like the look.
02 to 02 to I think 09.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Very okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. All right. I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know they came with a 6-speed.
I like the earlier ones, the earlier ones, because they had the older style dash with a double din head unit. Or you could just throw that thing in the trash, put some from Crutchfield in.
My mom has a 99 Solara.
Yeah.
And so that's the double din. It's got like a period correct touchscreen Pioneer head unit. It's terrible. DVD player, like the thing like folds. It's awful.
Yeah. Oh. But yeah, the later one, Toyota made their own like head unit thing. But I don't know if Crutchfield, they would have to sell a whole nother trim piece to cover all of that. Yeah. Because, it's now not a DIN standard head unit. It's probably a DIN standard underneath.
But you'd have to
the faceplate kind of wraps around. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing is like I just recently changed the oil on my mom's Solara, and she's got 4 cylinders. It's the 5SFE, and I was just looking at that engine. I was like, this is simple. And I was thinking, I was like, if I need a beater thing, I'll probably get like a Camry sedan with the 5SFE, just like whatever
I wonder
beater
if that's
car.
the same engine, the 5SFE.
That's the 4-cylinder. So I don't know. Yeah, and it's I think a single jingle. So I mean, at least from the size of looking at it, I didn't do the research, but not to mention, I don't think they did a wagon of that generation, but my dream beater is like a V6 Camry manual wagon. Like,
oh man, I would if they came in manual.
There's like,
you know what I'm talking about? They have the Camry wagon has the double rear wipers. It's an absolute ham beast of a car, and it's so like the butt is just tacked on, and I love it. I see them from time to time. I think there may have been one on Bring a Trailer or something like that, or maybe just Jalopnik ran a story on a private sale somewhere. Yeah, occasionally I'll find like clean Corolla wagon, like 98 Corolla wagons, and that's like 5 speeds out of Philly, and I'm like, why is this so? And it's got that like blue teal color. I saw one that they wanted too much, of course, but and then you got to run into the fact that it's a Philly car. Like, was this thing just trash? Did it hit curbs? Did it live outside? Did it get sprayed? Did it get? I mean, no one's keying a Camry. Yeah, exactly. When you were first saying like comfortable on the road, like a highway car, and it's fast to drive around, I was like, are you going to go key a Stinger on me right now? Because I'm not going to lie, I have decent credit. I could finance one. That's a bad move. That's exactly. Do not finance a car ever. Exactly.
I feel like there's a pun in there of like, would you key a Stinger?
And then if we're talking more realistically,
just shutting it down.
I've been looking at 2018 Elantra Sports 1.6 turbo.
Okay.
I'm on a Hyundai Kia, like not now. I really don't like the 2021 models and like the really new designs they went with, but like 2018, 19, I think Hyundai was making some really nice looking cars, mainly the Elantra and the Elantra GT. I really liked the Elantra GT, especially the Sport, the 1.6 turbo that they put in everything. And to me, I'm like, they don't give you a 10-year, 100,000 mile warranty if they actually plan on paying for things for 10 years and 100,000 miles.
Right.
So it just like, it seems like Kia and Hyundai are just on this, like, remember in the early thousands when we were garbage? Nah, not anymore. Like, but you know, they're even like and the other thing was at that time, they were like, all their automatics, except for I think the bigger SUVs, were dual clutch transmission. So I was like, that's kind of cool, but I wouldn't get an automatic. But you know, it was kind of cool that they did that. But now they're all going CVT like everyone else. Yeah. So
I mean, you have to meet cafe standards.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. Gosh, I'm trying to think like what happened in my life since the last podcast, and the last podcast was 2 days ago.
Yesterday I watched Framing John DeLorean on Hulu, which was a documentary slash I guess it's like a docudrama,
right?
With Alec Baldwin as John DeLorean, but it's a documentary where they insert these bizarre reenactments. Where not only is he playing John DeLorean, but then they talk to Alec Baldwin out of character as Alec Baldwin going through the thought processes of becoming John DeLorean. And the bizarre part about it is that as he's getting these caterpillar eyebrows applied, and you see him watching old tape of John DeLorean and trying to immediately, you see his process go to work, the way he's trying to like contort his face in such a way and have the voice in a certain way, which I mean, I couldn't mimic. It's kind of a very deep that there aren't really lulls, you know, it's like writing where there's no pause. It's just in the gap of the year, I suppose we could do this sort of thing. But it's not really like that. It's interesting because they got some pretty decent actors for it, like Morena Baccarin, Josh Charles, you know, all these other actors who are sort of recognizable, Dean Winters. But what you end up with is something that tries to be a sort of traditional motion picture, but lost within it is this documentary that's far more interesting. Like every time they cut away from whatever it is they're about to say to go back to one of the actors in the reenactment talking about how they're getting into character for this theme scene and what they think this person was going through, it kind of hurts the film,
the continuity. Like,
because half of it is talking heads talking about how great this story is, and I'm like, if the story's so great, then just tell it. You know, and got on my nerves to a degree. And what's strange about John DeLorean's story is that ultimately, he was acquitted from the whole drug case because there was like the case for entrapment there. But also, he came into legal trouble later from the embezzlement. And the weird part about it is that they make the argument that if he had just hung on for like 2 more years when Back to the Future hit, then he would have been huge. But my idea or my thought has always been that if DeLorean Motor Company holds on, that ultimately they go with a different car. Like, I think part of why they go with the DeLorean for Back to the Future is because it's a car that's no longer being made. Yeah. Because originally the idea was that they were going to use a refrigerator. And then they're like, well, why don't we turn it into a car? And then what ends up happening is that you have these two opposing voices in the documentary to the effect of the daughter who sort of not necessarily deifies her father, but definitely takes a very more positive stance towards him, and the son who's like a very no bullshit kind of intense sort of guy. Especially in the documentary, like they show him living in a very squalid apartment, and but that's like all by his choice because he's kind of, it's not that he doesn't want to associate with where he came from, it's just that holds no real value to him, in the sense that he talks about understanding that intellectually his father, did this thing, but also saying, well, but how could he be so stupid? Like, I don't believe my dad was stupid. And so he's just talking about these conflicting feelings he has about his dad. And honestly, the whole documentary was just that, like the son talking about his dad. It would have been far better because it didn't need all this like Alec Baldwin stuff. And he does do a very good job. And he even goes on this conversation about how John DeLorean called him in like the late 80s, talking about how, well, I hear there's this movie being made about me, and I hope you get to play me. I would be very flattered. Now, this was during the time because people have been trying to make a John DeLorean movie for like Lord only knows how long. And they made one with Lee Pace, I think like 2 years ago or so. But yeah, it's just a very strange documentary. It's the pacing is just weird. And I just wish that they had just told the story instead of spending the first 20 minutes telling us how great the story is and talking to Alec Baldwin about like what he thinks about John DeLorean and how he's getting into the character of playing the role of John DeLorean. And then they show the reenactments, but then they also show like behind the scenes of they have somebody filming the reenactments as a reenactment for scenes that reenactments that we never end up seeing.
We heard this new word. It's called meta.
I mean, all respect to the filmmakers, they got it, but it's something that I just don't understand why they would do it that way. But again, that's just my sensibilities, like for an RCR story. And I'm not saying I would have done it better or anything along those lines, but I did do a John DeLorean RCR story. And my whole thing was like, let's just get on with it. Because I just want to it's a fascinating story. And if the story is interesting enough, it should be able to stand on its own. Because this is a guy who wanted to be president of GM and then realized that they were going to make him wait like an extra 10 years until he was like 65 to get it. And he's like bouncing, just saying like, I'm going to start my own motor company and, I'm going to be the new Walter Chrysler. And hey, Bill Collins, how about you come join me? We'll do this whole thing together. It's like, I don't know. It's just a madman type of idea. He gets the plastic surgery to have a more prominent jaw.
Did he?
Yeah. And he's out here, banging models and, putting it down on these mean streets, leaving like his first wife and just going on a series of sort of entanglements. Like he was a celebrity in his own right, but long before like the car actually became what it was, but also like you could write a whole book about the series of mistakes he made, whether it was basing the whole company out of Ireland where there was no infrastructure for a car company, and this whole idea of like, we're going to do it all in 2 years. And that's crazy. Right. And so people were getting things that weren't necessarily what they wanted it to be. And I don't know. It's a good documentary if you want the John DeLorean story in a sort of quick and dirty way. It's like an hour and 40 minutes, but Yeah, I don't know. It's nice. So that's what
Yeah.
That's literally
that's what I've done in the last 2 days.
Like other than writing, it's just what I did more or less. Yeah.
Like I bought a new bottle of sealant to go sealant. What am I talking about? 3M spray adhesive.
Oh yeah.
Because some of the soundproofing panels for the studio upstairs, the recording booth thing, have been falling down in the humid
heat
weather.
Yeah.
And yet I'm still too cheap to put any air conditioners on this floor of the house. So
yeah.
I have 3 air conditioners upstairs for each bedroom. And it's really almost a 2.5 bedroom because there's an extra room in this house where it's a bedroom that can only be accessed through the main bathroom upstairs.
Yeah.
You'd have to see it to understand. It's literally that. You walk into the bathroom upstairs, you turn to the right, and there's another door, and it opens up into its own standalone room with a closet.
Yeah.
So I slept there the very first night that I moved into this house, and it was odd.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put my bed into the room it is in now.
Yeah. I remember looking at an apartment when I was going to Kutztown, and it was, I think, I don't remember what town because, boy, it's been a while since I've been to Kutztown.
Lions?
Yes.
Fleetwood?
Yes, Lions. But it could be worse. You could have one of the bedrooms you have to walk through to get to the bathroom. And that was what this situation was.
What?
And it was like, there was like one legitimately private bedroom. And at the time I was like, I get it. I have a girlfriend. And everyone was like, no, that doesn't count. So we ended up just not going there. And then we lived in that place in the middle of the woods on 662.
Nice.
And everyone was like, you live here? Like, are you sure you're not a serial killer? Like, it's just like,
I never saw this house.
Yeah. It's like, if you go to the Sheets and then just go down 662 on the way to Chewy, then you
so
in the middle of the woods.
61. You're taking the right turn now where the traffic circle is.
You go right past like the country club there, and it's just like you just stop, and there it is on the side of the road.
Nice.
Yeah, it was nice. It was really secluded.
Yeah,
hot,
but that's a really short commute right into school.
Yeah,
I remember I lived in the apartments. I think they were called the Mayfair Apartments. I don't know what they're called now.
That sounds familiar.
Do you know where Rite Aid is?
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. No. What is it called? It's like Devonshire now, I think.
Devonshire.
Yeah.
That was the name.
My friend I drove by his house. He and his wife rented a house in Hamburg, but they used to live there when we were in college.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lived in Devonshire.
Yeah.
They were all right little apartments, super thin walls. You could hear your neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
They did have central air. And again, super cheap. I never turned that central air on.
Wow.
Even in the summertime, I just dealt with open windows and I just kind of sweated in bed because I didn't want to pay for the electricity because it was all electric heat in that place.
Right.
It's a shame that there wasn't any places to put cars. They had an all right parking lot for that sort of place. The weird thing was, like, occasionally you would have families.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of old people that lived there. That is when he lived there. Yeah, exactly.
Because it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's just one person. You never hear them. You never see them. But it was weird when you have like a family. There were some most of them were 1-bedroom apartments. There were some that were 2 bedrooms. And the ones that were 2 bedrooms sometimes had families in them. And you could hear them through like 2 apartments away. Yeah. The guys who repaired stuff were pretty on point.
Yeah, I do remember that.
With that.
One thing I do remember is one of their neighbors had a 300ZX twin turbo.
Yeah.
And then by the time my friends had moved out, he had traded that and got whatever the early 2000s 911 Carrera 4S.
Yeah.
Same color, both red.
Devonshire. Leasing it or something like that.
Who knows?
The Devonshires. I think my rent was something like $800 a month.
I believe it.
And then the 2 bedrooms were somewhere in the G range. But it was pretty nice that, like, I guess trash was included in that place. You just walked out to the dumpsters. Yeah.
My friend shot a music video in one of those dumpsters.
Did he?
In college, yeah. It woke up. It was like some Irish drinking song. And he kept waking up and going to sleep in the dumpster, and like different things would happen. Yeah.
Is it on YouTube somewhere?
Probably. Yeah. I only remember seeing it in class though, but it's probably on YouTube
I remember
somewhere.
one day after filming in Kutztown, I walked over to the Devonshires and like walked into the foyer. You know, you'd walk in and then there's like the 4 doors into the individual units. And I just went in there and I breathed. I remember this. Yeah.
I remember my friends, it smelled like old people because all of his neighbors in those, he was on the top right and all of his neighbors were elderly.
I had a downstairs neighbor. I never met any of my neighbors. a downstairs neighbor, and she was, I guess, would sometimes babysit her grandson or brother.
Yeah.
The grandson, I mean, it was like almost like, it was sort of like, what's the difference between toddler and kid? Where it's like,
the in between.
Toddler and kid.
We're talking like, is a toddler in elementary school?
No,
toddler's like kindergarten.
Through kinder, through pre-K.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's sort of around that. I mean,
what are kids? I don't even.
Yeah, it is.
I don't work at GameStop anymore. I don't have to interact with those.
Those.
Yeah. Don't miss those days.
I would hear from this apartment, head down, head down, head down. And then I'd hear nothing for a while. And then I'd hear head down. So one time I made an excuse to like go outside, like I'm taking out trash or something like that. And I look back and it was this, like the grandma trying to make the kid fall asleep by hugging the kid to her chest. And like, head down, put your head down. And I never, like, weirdest thing. She wasn't like forcing the kids down. Super strange.
Yeah, that's odd.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. That was one of my memories for that place.
Yeah.
I never had a single overnight visitor. I lived there. That was my senior year.
Yeah.
I was there. Before I was just in the dorms, undergrad.
Yeah, that was my senior year that I lived in the middle of the woods. But since I had a girlfriend at the time and she lived on campus, she wouldn't like going to the middle of the woods where there was no AC. And it was like, no, we're going to stay on campus and sleep in the bed that's clearly not meant for two people.
Where did she live in like
Golden Bear?
Golden Bear.
Yep.
Golden Bear.
Yep.
Golden Bear south or west?
South.
The big one.
The ones that were like enclosed.
Yeah.
Where like you would go inside the building and then go up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I had friends, I miss them dearly, who lived in West.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like friggin' a frat house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there was no way.
My friend that lived in Devonshire lived in Golden Bear West before that.
Golden Bear West was a shit. There was no way to check. And it's just you open the door and then you're in. There's like, oh, you got an RA, but what are they going to do?
I had a friend who was an RA there, and even she was like running a frat house out of her.
Yeah.
Because she was the only one that lived there, and it was like 4 rooms.
Yeah. It was just like, you could just, there was no way to check people bringing beer in.
Yep.
There was no way to check. I mean, yeah, weed smells, so you really couldn't do that.
Yeah.
People did anyway. But I can't remember if those windows were big enough that you could jump out and like run away if there was a problem. Gosh, I just
remember.
places.
I don't remember those windows. I remember the ones from when I was going to Pitt that were in. Don't remember the name of the dorm because that was only my freshman year that I went there. But yeah, they were all like gated, like so that people couldn't get in from the street and everything. And there was like grates over them and everything. Yeah.
Should we get to super chats?
Yeah.
Let's get to the chats that were in the previous video.
Right.
Yeah, I have those up here.
We started with anime titties because that was the first one.
Yeah.
The
Big
next
titty
one I
golf
have
GF.
is which rental car is best rental car?
Right.
Yes, from Zach Hillman.
I had mentioned
thank you
my
for
last
$2.
rental car, which was a 2019 Versa or Sentra. I don't know, but it was terrible. CVT, awful.
Best rental car is one that you pay the damage waiver on.
True.
If that damage waiver is like $30, which is way too much, pay it anyway.
Yeah.
Because they're going to find a way to cash in on that.
Mm-hmm.
And also it's like the automotive equivalent of raw dogging. You don't give a shit anymore. Like, fuck it.
Yeah.
That was big league if you're already,
Yeah. Or like she says she's on the pill or something like that. Or my parents are away equivalent of like driving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
I remember when we did the Pacific Fister and we got to Portland Airport and the guy was like, I see a scratch here. I see a scratch here. And he looked at the thing as, oh, you paid the damage waiver. Oh, see ya.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, we got, when my mom was moving me out of my freshman dorm at Pitt, it was like she got like a Chrysler Town and Country rental car, and someone went in the out of the parking lot and tried to like pull a weird 3-pointer and like hit the rental car. And she's like, yo, you hit me. And then we're getting his information. He gives us a phone number. I call it. it's not his phone number. And I'm like, give us your actual phone number. Like the whole thing, because she didn't pay the waiver. And then she was like, whatever, didn't mention anything about it. Never heard about it.
Oh, cool.
So, hey, there you go.
Best rental car, I am going to say, this will probably go back to like living in a frat house because I did at Penn State, although I wasn't a part of the frat. But
I'm going to take these chips off the table because I keep eating them, and they're cheese chips.
Yeah.
And they're delicious and also super filling, says the guy who's about to get another beer. Does anybody want a beer?
I'm okay. Thank you.
Good.
I'm the only one drinking. I'm not going to have a second one. You guys are
Well,
going to the gym tomorrow and counteract all this.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you can have like 2 more beers, still be in better shape than me. It's
that's what I've been like the last 3 weeks. I was telling him before you got here, like I've just been like eliminating most things from my, like I've been back on the fitness thing. And so I had a beer for the first time in 3 weeks last night. It was just a 60-minute. And I was like, oh my God.
I haven't had any alcohol whatsoever since March. And as the time,
sparkling water?
That would be nice.
As the time goes on, I realize I don't miss it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I don't miss it at all.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where like, okay, maybe I wrote a little better, but also it's like, just, it's not worth the headache for me.
Exactly. And that's like the next day thing. Like I had mixed drinks and a beer last night, and it was like waking up this morning, I was like, a little off. But when I've also stopped partaking in the marijuana. And that's something that has like, I wake up when my alarm goes off now. I don't snooze it an extra hour and a half. And so that, and I don't raid the fridge and all that stuff.
I actually got up. I got up 2 whole ass hours before my alarm today.
Yeah.
My body was on point. But best rental car, this was from a friend from the frat house. It was a Ford Escort. Because he said you could do anything to it. But yeah, man, those were some wild days talking about drinking. But yeesh.
I have to have a ritual with me with like weed now. And that everything has to be laid out. Yeah.
I mean, it should be. Like that's the way I need to do it.
I need to have my playlist set up. I can't get high and not have music. Because if I get high, if I don't have music, I start thinking too much.
Yeah.
I think too much.
I'm going inside.
Dude, what you need to do is have an edible and listen to Chamber of Reflection by Mac DeMarco.
What is that? What's that?
It's just like the weird, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just like
number 9.
Oh, that would fuck me up.
Yeah.
Dude, I listen to yacht rock when I'm high. It's like sailing takes me away
to where I always get some Christopher Cross on there.
I have
or some Bob Welch. Sentimental.
What's I've got a playlist here. Hold on, where is it? New Year, New Dank. That was my last playlist that I had.
New Year, New
So like, Gambino, lots of like Chance the Rapper and all, Blended Babies. Yeah. Lots of like more
very casually dropping that.
Yeah.
Do you remember Citizen King?
Yes, I do.
I've seen better days.
Yeah.
Like I hit the pen and listened to that one morning, and it's like, I've seen better. My eyes were closed. I was rocking back and forth. It's like, oh my God, I'm back in high school again. In the 90s.
Feeling it.
Yeah.
I had like an almost psychedelic experience when I discovered that all of the Grand Theft Auto San Andreas radio stations are playlists on Spotify.
Are they?
And it was like I hadn't listened to some of the songs from like KDST on there and like since playing that game, and one came on and I think I'd had a couple drinks, but I remember sitting there listening to it and I was like, for a moment my brain just switched and I was like, you're 8 years old and you're in West Coast Customs and nothing matters. You're just going to customize this car and put hydraulics on it and nothing matters. You don't have to worry about real life. I was like, oh my God. But yeah, like the music, the effect of music on that was like, so it was the ultimate nostalgia.
That introduced me to classic country. Well, I mean, my mom, like I grew up listening to Patsy Cline, but I mean, K Rose got me into like Waylon Jennings or was it? All I know is All My Exes Live in Texas.
Right.
It's a great friggin' song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Mamas Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys.
Right.
Yeah.
Great songs.
Oh man. The grocery store where I would do my shopping, they play country music, I think, on Tuesday and Thursdays. And it's friggin', I mean, it's not a radio station because I don't hear commercials.
Right.
And occasionally you just hear the commercial for the place that you're shopping in.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's like has the quality of like Cat Country 105 0.5 or something. It's just Nashville, Nashville pop.
Yeah,
And it's like it's pop music with a twang, and I'm like, this is not country music.
The Wawa I stopped at on the way here was blasting their music, and I have a Snapchat on my story of it right now.
Yeah,
and I'm just standing there, and you just hear Fireflies by Owl City blasting. Would you believe your?
That's one of those songs that was everywhere and then just vanished. Like that Rude song by Magic, You and Me by Lifehouse.
Yeah,
that just disappeared. And it's just one of those things where I'm like, man, these songs were inescapable, right? And then the people vanish.
Do you remember Afro Man? Because I got high.
Oh yeah.
That thing was like the birds were singing it. It was so everywhere, and then nowhere.
Yeah,
nowhere.
Yeah.
Anthony Manfredi doesn't have a question. Thank you for your donation. Just says, love the history episodes, Roman.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm working on the conclusion to the Corvette RCR Stories trilogy. I just needed a hook for the last one because, like, originally it was all one long video where I do the early history of the It's like the entire history of the Corvette.
Yeah.
So, like, that Harley Earl and the birth of the Corvette and the year without a Corvette were like the beginnings of like one really long video. And then I realized by the time the script is done, I'm like, this video is going to be like 3.5 hours. I'm not doing that all because the file would be like insane. And so I split it all up. And so the hook for the first one is just like, all right, it's the early years of the Corvette. We're going through Harley Earl, Zora Arkus Duntov, Bill Mitchell. Cool. Hook for the second one, 1983, year without a Corvette, and then takes us through to like the C5. And then like towards the end, it's like the history of the C6 and the C7, but there's no hook. And so I had to go back and figure out what the hook is going to be.
Yeah.
And so
maybe here's how we got a mid-engine Corvette.
Yeah, more or less. It's like the March to Mid-Engine, more or less.
That's a line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's
it's
literally
like
the title.
The March to the Mid-Engine.
Yeah. It's
nice.
And it's kind of looking back at all the different prototypes and how they almost happened. And then like the almost comical circumstances, or the comical number of circumstances that cause people to say like, well, I guess a mid-engine Corvette ain't really gonna happen. You know?
Yeah.
It's like,
and then it happened.
Yeah, and then it happened, but it happened like I make an argument in there about whether or not like the peak for it has passed, in the sense that like, was the time to do this in the 80s, or was the time to do this like in the middle of the sort of rise of the muscle car era, or is now really the right time as a means of getting the youth culture back into it, to reach out and sort of repurpose, because the C4 was kind of a changing of the guard in the sense that it reorganized what people thought a Corvette could be and began the push towards the Corvette's modern identity, what people think of it.
The Grand Tourer sports car.
And now like the C8, it's almost like, okay, we recognize the identity that the Corvette has now for being like this middle Asia. I was talking to James, the owner of the C8 Corvette, and he's like, well, you know, a lot of people think it's like this midlife crisis thing. And it's like, I'm not there.
I used to say for years, you don't see anyone under 50 with a Corvette.
No. Yeah. And now like he's climbing out of it, and, you know, people are just sort of looking at, I think it was along the lines of something that you said in the video, that you look as though you're someone of consequence, or you're viewed with consequence. And that's a very trenchant sort of idea, because, you know, it's like you don't know who that person is, but you know there's somebody. If they could be able to have this car, which in the grand scheme of things, in comparison to its competitors, is far less expensive than say if I were to get like a Ferrari,
a McLaren, like one of those entry-level McLarens.
Just like, oh, well, you know, you're getting it for the best possible price. It's like, well, yeah, but I'm going to have to take out like a second mortgage. And it's after a certain point, you know, you need a car that looks like that sort of, it's strange. Like people say it's like, well, millennials, they're at a point in life where they can't really afford a house.
Exactly.
But they need something they can realistically sort of
reach towards,
a brass ring that they can grab. And, you know, that's kind of, and this goes back to like the DeLorean story that I saw on Hulu, which was that he seemed to recognize how youth culture viewed cars as an extension of how they appeared to the world. And that was his whole idea behind the GTO of like, he would lend it out to friends of his and have trouble getting it back. And so they're like, hey, let's sell these things. But also it's like, that was what he wanted to recreate with the DMC-12 and couldn't really do it because, you know, everything went pear-shaped. But now with the C8, you know, this is a good springing off point for another generation to experience the Corvette on a sort of clean slate level because without the baggage of, you know, this was the thing that typified, or the thing that I immediately identify with, like my dad coming home and telling us like me and mom are getting divorced. You know, it's like that type of thing.
And then months later, Corvette is in the driveway.
Corvette and the 19-year-old girlfriend, which I didn't know when John DeLorean married the supermodel wife. That was around the time that the Chevy Vega came out, like the 70s somewhere, that she was like 19 years old.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, how do you marry a 19? That's like, that's a completely different like mind. Like your mind is
how do you get over that? Like, I am going to date someone that is 5 years out of middle school,
right?
Like that.
Well, that was like my dad, after my parents got divorced, had a 21-year-old girlfriend. He was easily in his 40s. And he was like, I waited till she was 21. Like, it was like,
And it is like, there are no laws being broken, but there is like a scheme.
There's something there.
You got a hustle going on.
The one time there was I was seeing like a 23-year-old, but I was still within the half your age plus 7 thing. So in my mind,
I've never even known about that formula.
Yeah, apparently like it's not creepy if the person is like, do half your age plus 7 and whatever the number is.
Right.
That's the limit of how old they or young, whatever they can be before it's creepy. Younger than that, creepy. So 35.
So next year I'll be 40. So
womp womp. Sorry.
27.
Yeah, I'll be 29 at the end of this month, or 39 at the end of this month. So that means 20. Even that's
Yeah.
If I was 40 and I dated a 27-year-old, you're right. The line must be drawn here.
Yeah.
It's thinking about that, that's a generous. That is
true.
Very generous.
That is true.
Half your age plus 7.
Yeah.
I'm a 40-year-old dating a 27-year-old. That's like someone who you graduate college somewhere around age 24, 25, maybe in today's day and age. 5, 6, 7. That's like you've been out of college 3 years. Maybe you're thinking about grad school, but you're not there yet. You're like most of your like the good pieces of your furniture in your apartment are from IKEA.
Yeah.
Like the rest of them,
this is,
actually, like my place kind of looks like that. Name the amount of stuff visible on this camera that I bought. The table and these 4 chairs are the only, and the mic stands are the only things that you guys can see that I bought.
You weren't like handed down.
Yeah. There's a table over there that I found on the curb.
Nice.
There's another table in the other room that I found on the same curb. There's a file cabinet that came from my uncle who had a stroke. There's a cooler that came from God knows where. There's a filing tote thing that I think also came from Strokey Uncle. And then there's a nightstand that my parents bought me in like 91.
Yeah.
That for my old bedroom. There's the uninterrupted power supply is sitting on a jewelry drawer case.
Yeah. Which in and of itself.
It's a piece of 4 little drawers over there that's meant to hold all your jewelry.
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool thing to have that I used to have near my computer that would just hold mini DV tapes. It used to hold mini DV tapes. And so that's sitting on there,
My work from home.
This, I think, was in my brother's room for a while. And then he moved out and he didn't want it. I don't know where this came from. It's a assemble it yourself computer desk. Yeah. Back when it was a thing to have your monitor like raised
above
up.
your keyboard. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, cause you're looking.
Do they still do that?
Now it's standing desks. I don't even, I want one, by the way, because right now my work from home setup is, cause my company's still working from home, but I have a hideous wooden green writing desk that is well over 2 to 3 times my age. And it's like exactly kind of the thing with like that jewelry box over there where it's just ancient, been in the family for so long. I'm pretty sure like my great grandfather built it or something like that. And it's just like the paint is like barely there anymore. I think it's pretty gross, but I managed to fit 2 monitors and a keyboard on it.
Nice.
Very nice. My thing though is that, and this is just me throwing myself under the bus, is that like the 23-year-old ended up being in a way more mature than I was, in the sense that she had more like, okay, when you're introverted and a late bloomer, there are certain experiences that you don't have.
Yeah, exactly.
So that even though age-wise I'm older, it's like experientially, you know, it's like she may have a more mature mindset than I do, especially because I don't know, sometimes I get in my feelings, you know, and I don't know how to express it because I haven't had a lot of relationships. I've had entanglements, but not like a lot of, you know, things where I could.
Such a good term.
Jada. It really is such a great term. You know, in any other year, but this one, it'd be word of the year. But it's just something where I think it all comes with experience rather than time, because people say things come with time, but that's not the case.
Like the girl I'm talking to right now, she just turned 23. I'm 25. I turned 25 in June. And, you know, like she's just had more life. Like the experiences I had when I was like my family experiences that I had when I was in college, she had when she was like 16. So it's like all the stuff that I've been through, like she's also been through, but it just happened a lot earlier for her. So like she's, in my eyes, more mature than me. Like,
does she do that thing where they legitimately they talk slower? Or like you can tell that they're arranging their words and then they come out in a very deliberate way?
Not very much, but she's also a nanny. So like it's kind of a
nanny.
Yeah. So it's like very deliberate.
She's in her 20s and she's a nanny.
Well, wasn't Maria von Trapp like?
Well,
yeah, I don't know. It was like So, but yeah, very deliberate. Yeah, I mean, I guess that kind of thing, but not because of
what is a nanny? What is
raise
a nanny
kids
in 2020?
A family that the father and mother want to continue their professional lives.
Yeah,
they need someone to watch the kids. I mean, especially the younger ones. Like they don't want to send their kids to like a daycare. And it's like especially now with COVID, and she's got all the kids at home all the time.
It's basically like an au pair in the European sense of the term. You know, it's just like, hey, this is a live-in. Well, not a live-in.
Exactly. Yeah, they show up 9 to 5. Show up
and they're like their house is essentially that person's office.
Hey, if you have the coin to pay somebody, and if that's like a full-time job.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing is like, I mean, and the thing is like, she's really good at it. And it's like, they talk about like the family just went on a vacation and with like their other extended family. And there's the main child that she's nannying like before COVID struck, and the other, cause I think they're like ranging from 4.
Whoa.
Yeah. 3 to like 8 or something like that. And so like the youngest one is mainly who she was taking care of. And the family was like, oh my gosh, he's got like 4-word sentences. Like he's like talking, and like she's like actually,
is she like teaching them too
these days? Yes.
Yeah. And
that's like a big thing is a lot of that, and like the behavioral stuff, but the parents are working from home as well now, so like sometimes they do have to like step in, but like that's like a weird
there is
COVID
a strange component to it though, because essentially that child will begin to view that person as a member of the family, but their membership in the family is contingent upon a paycheck.
Yeah.
Like that's and granted, that's always been I had a babysitter that, you know,
I mean,
it was part of the family. And then like, you know, well, still technically like in a distant family friend way, but like a lot of it was contingent upon, you know, because nothing's free, but also it's like, this wasn't someone who was teaching me how to read or talk or form sentences. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was someone who was like a babysitter who watched me like for 3 hours on the weekdays, and that was about it.
Yeah. After school, get home.
Yeah. And so I don't know. It's just a very interesting sociological thing, which I mean, it's interesting in a way that doesn't demand further investigation.
Like it's like that's something I don't have to really worry about or really think hard about. Just know that it's a thing, and but it is interesting. Shall we super chat?
Miat doesn't have a question, but they just want to say, other YouTubers complaining about cancel culture, you're a generally good dude with treats all people with compassion. I respect that. Props to being a positive voice in a sea of YouTube reactionaries. Yeah, I look at reactionary videos as laziness.
Yeah, it's like
I don't feel like
other people said
anything.
the thoughts, and now I'm going to tell them while they're wrong or right. And it's like, all right, well,
all right.
One thing that
was me making the jerk off motion.
Yeah.
Notice how whenever you do the jerk off motion, it's never below average for dick thickness. It's always like
The
fucking
biggest
meat hoagie fest. Oh, it's never like, and this is coming from a gay guy. There are some dicks out there that are like that. And it's just like, it's like fucking sucking on a bubble tea straw. It's like
it's
unfamiliar with the reality of it. It's like the gesture.
Well, I mean, the one person who got this right, kind of, if you look it up on Google, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, there's a GIF of him like on a Monday Night Raw in 1997 that if you look it up, like Shawn Michaels like blowjob GIF, and I'm not calling it a GIF. That's GIF is a peanut
I'm a
butter.
GIF person.
GIF interchange format.
Yeah, but
GIF.
But it's basically like he does it, but he also incorporates like ball tickling and everything.
Oh yeah, there you go.
He's doing
Yeah,
it to make fun of somebody in the audience.
Yeah.
Which is like it's 1997, and it's such a bizarre, ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's just like this is you, this is your, and
this is what you're doing. Yeah,
and it's just such a weird
especially in
thing.
'97. That was like the funny thing.
Delightful.
Miat says, I have the same Chrome cart, which I think they're referring to that guy over
Oh
there.
yeah,
I didn't even got that. I got that from Greg International's wife. And I mentioned like I was looking for a cart or something. Like, hey, we have this like bar cart, or it's really a butcher block, but it's on a cart. Actually, butcher blocks are like twice thickness. It's a general purpose kitchen cart.
I forgot to ask. Did you end up going with Greg International and Tony Airlines on the?
Nah, that Greg's plane that he keeps near here is only a 2-seater. The Fisher Dakota Hawk Experimental.
Yeah, I saw Tony's pictures on at Tony Airlines on Instagram. Great follow. But yeah, that was a very interesting. You have to have them on the cast again, both of them.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, open invite to Greg International.
Oh, yeah, always.
Just literally come over here and knock on the door.
If we're live and you see this going on, and just like
haul ass, rip the beat over
Yeah.
here.
Did you get to drive the Bee ever?
I have not. No.
Oh man, you got to be here next time Tony Airlines is here.
Oh, I didn't know he would like drive that all the way here.
It's 2 hours in that car.
That's what I'm saying. That sounds.
Your earplugs.
Oh yeah, I
Because
mean
the
I had a
car is
Miata, and that
so-
was bad enough.
Yeah. So he's driving that thing for freaking Trenton. So not Trenton, but
Yeah.
up above. Anthony just doesn't have a question. Here's another $5. Keep making the history videos. I love them.
Nice.
Oh wait, did we?
Oh wait, I think we did that one.
Did we? I think that was the last of
Where we at?
that I saw of the
Oh, the
ones
previous
from the
one?
previous video.
Okay.
All right, so
This one is a reference, I think, to what Ben was saying. Miat says, "You ever watch Donut Series? Quality content," and I can hear the irony there.
Yeah.
You're talking about.
Yeah, their
Their
audio
audio
quality
quality
in that most
just
recent
all
Up
over
to
the place.
Speed was, but I do love their Money Pit mainly because the dude who hosts that is just a beautiful man, and that's
Yeah.
coming from a straight dude. So yeah, and it's a Miata series where they're just doing like home, like, is this even a thing that you should put on your car? And then they just do it, and like, yeah.
Is it all the same car? They just keep.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and they're just building it up and building it up and building it up. Like they just
Nice.
did chassis bracing, and which is actually kind of cool because my friend
Why does
who
it
has a
need
Miata,
chassis bracing?
because it's convertible.
Oh right, right.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I had a hard top on mine, so that was nice.
That helped.
Yeah, it helped big time.
Could you tell the difference when you took the hard top off?
I really just didn't drive it that hard because I was on stock wheels, like the 14-inch skinny boys. So I never really drove it that hard.
Okay.
Like I was like, yeah, I can do 50 on an on-ramp, but I wasn't taking it through twisties. And where I live, there weren't many great driving roads, but I never noticed.
Miat says, "Do what MCM did with theirs."
Which
with
what
their
were we talking
Miata,
about?
which what?
Miata, or maybe theirs. I don't know. It was a while that we were talking about stuff.
Again, I keep thinking about that Toyota Camry with the 6-speed.
Oh, maybe
Think
that's
about doing stuff to that. I don't know what that engine can take, what its limitations are.
Yeah.
The quick and dirty thing is, the nitrous spray.
Oh yeah.
Into it and just see what it does. But again, that's like throwing $5,000 away for YouTube videos. And now that I have this house, I'm more inclined to just put money away for the eventual time when we fly again, which is whenever. Ian's Variety Channel. Oh, good to see you again. I saw you 2 days ago. Motorcycle question.
Wee.
What do you guys think of the Royal Enfield's Continental GT650? And then there's a caveat. I have one, which means say nice things about it. I put 400 miles on it already. That's it.
That's not much.
And I am loving it. Maybe that's weird for PA because any ride that I go on is like 100 miles.
Right. Yeah.
Because I just keep going.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like I'm going 100 miles. I'm just riding around.
Yeah.
Whenever I'll get off when I have to pee or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, even my bike, when I bought it in Carlisle and had to ride it to where I live near Philly.
Yeah.
So that was
okay. Carlisle, Philly.
Yeah. And
it's going to be a bit boring, but on a 450, maybe it's not so boring. Did you take the turnpike or did you?
I did take the turnpike. Yeah.
How did you go? Did you go through Easy Pass or pay?
I paid.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that was last September. So before everything happened.
Yeah.
I was annoyed that it's like you still have to pay the same amount as a car. I'm a motorcycle.
Yeah.
I'm taking up a fraction of the weight and the space and the tire touching the road. And I was a little bothered by that, but
I wonder how, like Easy Pass, I see some people hold it up. I see some people, if you have a windshield, they put it on.
Mine, mine, actually my car, when I bought it, already had the little Velcro. So I just took it out of my one car and put it in my current one. And it's like tucked away behind my mirror. So I forget I even have it. But I've also driven through other states where that doesn't work. And then I just get something in the mail from the license plate.
I still have not gotten anything from driving on the toll road in Toronto.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's
bill.
international. I wonder. Yeah, that's weird.
And I remember we went there. We went to Canada over your civic holiday, and that's coming up, isn't it? Canadians civic holiday. Still haven't gotten any bills. All right, then. So what do I think of the Royal Enfield Continental GT650? I look at that bike like I look at a Victory. Like a Victory motorcycle.
Aren't those like the enormous single cylinders, the Royal Enfields?
Royal Enfields, yeah. I mean, maybe they're doing parallel twins.
I think their Himalayan is a parallel twin. Yeah. I think. I'm looking it up right now.
A 650 Thumper is completely doable. I had my DR 650 Dual Sport. Of course, that sort of makes sense because it's a lot of torque, and that's what you want for a Dual Sport, whereas the Royal Enfield Continental is supposed to be kind of, I guess, a touring bike, a mild touring bike.
Okay.
Now, I'm sure it's a modern bike and it's going to be nicely counterbalanced. I mean, Suzuki had their Suzuki Savage 650, which was a single cylinder. They made that forever and people like it. But I look at that bike, honestly, as a bit of a boutique machine.
Right. Okay.
It's a bike for looking good.
Mm-hmm.
I could have a Bonneville, but I won't.
Yeah.
I'll have the Royal Enfield.
Yeah. And it's probably, I mean, how much cheaper is it?
India. No one,
Yeah.
I like God. The stretch is that Royal Enfield existed for a long time in India.
Exactly. Yeah. And they just recently started doing stuff. But yeah, like, I mean, how much cheaper is that than a Bonnie?
I don't know.
Probably insanely cheaper, I would imagine.
Is it?
I mean, Royal Enfields are kind of, that's their thing right now.
Really?
I think it's just that they are so cheap. It's all like book a test drive and stuff on this website. But
are you seeing any prices right now?
I'm looking right now.
Okay.
But because that's the thing is like my dad, the reason I am into motorcycles at all is my dad has a 71 Bonneville. Mm-hmm. So that's where it comes from. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm looking for prices. Oh, wait, here we go. Yeah, 6,250.
New for a 650.
For a 650 Continental. So you're looking at like twice that price for a Bonnie. I mean, the modern classics that Triumphs is doing right now are beautiful, and I'm sure they're great. But yeah, not first bike friendly. Like that's like my price range I'm shopping right now because I'll probably be selling my bike. But I'm shopping around the 5 and below mark.
Oh
yeah. And
I forget what I paid for that. I think, did I pay 5 or did I pay 4 even for that?
Yeah. Well, that's like I sent you the link to that one, the 500.
Yeah.
And sold like right away. Yeah. Like I couldn't even get 500.
Can't find GS. I kind of wish I saved that bike now.
Yeah.
My 93 GS 500. Wow. What colors were it? Red, white, and pink.
Ooh-wee. Yeah. That's some Radwood tastefulness right there.
Red tank and side fairing, sort of. Black engine, white wheels.
Were they like tri-spoke wheels too?
White tri-spokes.
Yes.
And then pink graphics.
Oh my
pink
goodness.
Trapper Keeper graphics on it.
90s cup, the whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing
Paper
I
cup.
did to it, whoever got that bike got a freaking bargain on it.
Yeah.
I hope that bike is out there somewhere.
I know someone's going to get a bargain. Well, unless I get the price I want, but someone's probably going to get a bargain on my bike because I put a lot of work into
I wish I had that bike so I could just sell it to you for like $1,000 and just have it, love it.
Yeah.
I had a Spitfire windshield on it. And
That was the thing. The CB500X I rode, that was the first bike I'd ever ridden with a windshield. Game changer.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. The wind doesn't hit your chest anymore.
Yeah. Or my face. Like it was like tall windshield too.
It throws the air over you.
Mm-hmm.
They were totally just cosmetic, but
Right.
I put shock boots on it.
Oh,
The
yeah.
accordion style shock
Mhm,
boots. I'm like,
mhm.
I'm going to protect the entire shock. I
Yeah.
don't want anything exposed.
Yeah.
I remember on the GS Twins forum, someone made fun of me for having those things on. It's like, what do you have, an 80s dirt bike? But now like shock boots are cool.
Yeah. Well, that's like the Yamaha, what is it? The SCR 950, which is like I forget the name of the other Yamaha Bolt engine.
Okay.
It's a V-twin 950, but it's like a parts bin scrambler
Yeah.
with like
Yeah.
5.5 inches of ground clearance, the most uncomfortable seat I've ever sat on.
Really?
An engine that is just way too damn wide between your legs. Like that's the only other bike that the dealership that I brought my bike to work on. That was the only bike they had, because they're like a Harley, like used bike dealer. And it's like all Harleys. Then they had that GS500, but no, that was the only bike I saw in their inventory that I was like, oh, that's cool. I sat on, I was like, nope, never mind. Got right off. It's like, forget that. I'm on my tippy toes on it again. I mean, I'm 5'9", 10.
Oh, wait, the GS500 you were looking at was the GS500F with the fairing on it, right?
Right. Yeah. So that had like the oil cooler, and yeah.
Yeah, the reason that oil cooler exists is because it has a fairing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
To just give the engine a helping hand.
Mm-hmm.
I am on Craigslist right now. Motorcycles, not parts,
Alphabet
there it is.
hard.
GS500.
I think I
What is
looked.
around? There's one,
2007.
Central New Jersey. It has a dumb,
It's got
stupid
the
exhaust
Yosh
on it.
exhaust.
What did they do with this fairing? Did they
That's
paint
got to
it?
be aftermarket paint and like
Yeah.
tape. Aftermarket. That's
How did
done
they-
at home. That was probably laid down and the fairing's been replaced. I think that's
Okay.
what's going on there. Probably the exhaust was replaced because it was laid down as well.
Yep, it probably fell down
Mm-hmm.
because where are the bar ends? The bar ends aren't there.
Yep.
Where are the turn signals? They're now flush
Yep.
mounts.
I remember when I was shopping for the bike I have now, I found an Interceptor 500 V4.
Sweet.
And like it was like I got there. I live in Pennsylvania. I'm in Pennsylvania looking at this bike in Pennsylvania. It has a Jersey plate on it. It's titled in Pennsylvania. It's just not registered. And they're like, it doesn't have turn signals on it. And I'm like, I'm not leaving this neighborhood with this. Like, I'm not going to go ride this somewhere and have to answer these questions. But like, that was like I was like, okay, never mind. And like the fairing was like zip tied together. But right now on a dealership website, there is a really clean 84 Interceptor V4 38 they want for it or something like that.
Because
I
those
think they are. And it would be very
tucked way the fuck up there.
Yeah. And
And you can't get to
And
them.
that's kind of why I'm like looking for something with fuel injection, because I was telling Brian earlier, I don't want to tinker on a bike. I rode my bike that I had changed sprockets and chains and everything onto the shop, and I was just like so anxious because I was the last person to work on that bike.
See, I don't really ride my bike. I rode it like twice this summer.
Damn,
I'd
be
with that
killing
bike
to
for
ride my bike.
$3,000, honestly, just get rid of it.
I
Do you want a 650?
I don't though. That's the thing. I rode your bike and I was kind of scared of it. Like it
takes 87 octane. It
I
takes
know.
the cheap
I remember
gas.
texting you and I was like, do I have to put premium in this thing? And you're like, no.
It's a Bandit. That's what it made.
Yeah.
$3,000 buys my motorcycle because I hardly ever do it. You want to ride it after this? Because you're not drinking. I am.
I don't have the long pants or anything.
I got some overpants in the garage. And
Stop trying to convince me. No, I can't right now. After I sell my bike, we'll figure it out. When I have the money.
Someone in the regular chat asked what you guys think of Gootsies, Moto
Moto
Guzzi.
Guzzi? I don't know if I ever rode. No, I never rode a Guzzi.
I've only like seen them in passing. Like I remember I was on a Segway tour in Philly, and in those like old apartments where they've got the garage on the first floor, this one woman was pulling out like a Triumph to get to her Moto Guzzi. And I said to her, I was like, thank you. This is a beautiful sight.
Yeah.
It's like,
we got to get Blake wrong on
And I
here
think
'cause he's a Gucci fanatic.
Yeah, because I think the only other time I've seen one was at like Hard Rock in New York City. They have one in their like
it's
waiting
sort of a
room.
weird thing. Mid-State PA, occasionally you'll see Ducatis. Mostly it's Harleys and Japanese bikes.
Yeah. I see Triumphs
occasionally
too.
you'll have a wild guy on a freaking KTM.
Yeah. But I've seen Triumphs around too.
Oh, right. We got that place in Portland.
That's also true. Yeah.
BMW Triumph.
Yeah.
Jonathan Cannon doesn't have a question, but thank you for your donation. Someone says you can manual swap the 2GR FE Camry and it does low 13s. Well, why would you? Well, they already make it, so maybe that's what it does. Like stock, does a manual Camry do low 13s?
I guess that's wow.
You know, I think the original.
My aunt has a 2011 XSE, and it's the V6 one, automatic. But I remember driving that when I think at the time I owned a Ford Focus and ZX3, and driving that, I didn't realize I had it in sport. And every time I would take off from a stop, it would like spin the tires, and I was like, that thing was fast. And then my mom borrowed it when she had totaled her car, and I was driving it as well. Holy crap! I was amazed. I was like, a 2011 V6. Those things just haul. They have like 240 horsepower or something like that. Like probably more, honestly.
40. Okay.
No, actually, maybe not those 2011s. The new ones do.
It could. I mean, because the V6, the Honda Accord 6MT, that's 270.
Jeez. I recently watched that review again, and I was like,
it's one of my favorite cars that exists.
Yeah.
Too bad that engine and transmission combination was only available as a coupe.
Which I'm okay with.
Not a wagon. Andrew Palmer says, cheers from San Jose. You mentioned some time ago about possibly doing a documentary on the 90s Speed Wars. There's been another channel that did it. It's such a grand project. I don't know how I would pull it off.
Yeah, I wish
still thinking about doing this one. I still think about doing that one about how I still think about this certain soft boy that I have an internet crush on. That would never, ever, 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 ever happen. But ambitious.
Yeah, I mean, it would
project.
be something that, like the West Valley review, would easily make it into film festivals. Maybe not easily, but
it's like a feature length thing.
Yeah. Well, no,
I'm going after you.
Okay.
Oh yeah. But it would also require a lot more.
Help yourself to anything in the fridge.
It would also require a lot more legwork on our part in terms of travel, because we would need to get on camera the people involved.
2JA Pan, yeah.
Like, it would be great if we could just like put a mic pack on Tony Rumble and have him tell us everything he knows.
Tony Rumble.
Yeah, because I remember originally when I was doing the Dieselgate, like Tony Rumble was like an encyclopedia of that, and you said like, well, you could just like interview him, and that'd be like footage that you can put into it. Yeah. And when I made it, I completely forgot about that aspect to it, and then the video was done. I'm like, oh, I never talked to Tony Rumble. But for
he's
like another
working for
one,
Penske now, I think.
Is he?
Yeah, he's not working at Bruce Hens anymore.
Strange. Well, I mean, not strange.
I mean, good on him. He found himself a desk job.
Yeah.
Because he's saying, I like being a mechanic. I like working on things. And he still shows up to Bruce's from time to time to like work on stuff after hours. But it's like, I have a wife, want to have a kid. I kind of want a clean job.
Yeah.
So he's getting out of being a full-time mechanic.
Yeah, I don't blame him for that.
But he's still going to do stuff. He's got that Fox body, which as the years go by becomes more and more valuable, even though it's only a 4-banger. that we reviewed on the channel. So if you saw that was that.
I have a strange allure for Fox bodies, although like in a strange sense, I think it's very similar to my appreciation for the C4 in that like I like it, but I don't know that I would ever want to own one just because it's the amount of upkeep and, again, street parking. Like if I were to get a house, that'd be great, but or a garage, but it's something where
my old apartment, I think, is on the market now.
It's a nice,
plus that garage over there. Of course, there's going to be, you're going to be running an air conditioner all summer. Yep.
I mean, I've been just running fans because I don't have, it's just something where I don't know. It's a thought.
I have to pee now.
I'm gonna take over Super Chats.
Yep.
Okay, where were we on Super Chats?
So
I have it highlighted where we are.
Okay. Did we talk ferrets?
Oh, we did not.
Okay. Wait, what? Yeah, okay. Oh, we scroll up. Okay. I see how it goes. I thought I was reading down, but we're going from the bottom up. I didn't know what order this goes in.
Well,
this is what we just read. You could come across the table.
All right, I'm stealing Brian's mic for now. Let's see.
So that's where we're at. The explaining the film. We're talking about when we were talking about the Framing John DeLorean.
All right, but did you do the Southern Stat Part 2?
This is where we just read.
Oh, okay.
Are we going backwards? I don't know.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna say, have Yins ever had experience with ferrets? And
Pittsburgh, yay. Sorry.
Yeah. my whole thing. I had a friend who had a ferret. If we're not talking about in terms of like some internet term where ferret means something that I don't realize what it means.
Yeah.
If we're talking about literal actual ferrets, I had a friend who had a ferret, and I don't know what happened to the ferret, but now the woman in question is a roller derby girl, so that's really cool.
Nice.
But yeah, I
don't have experience with ferrets. However, bunny rabbits. I have a friend that has one, and it roams her apartment, and she also has 3 cats in the apartment. And it's like, I didn't realize that rabbits, because in my experience prior to this, was like, they're always in a cage and like just in the cage. But it's like, oh, they have a personality and they're like another pet. Thank you.
Yeah. Living dream.
Yeah. And then like, I've had experience with chinchillas, but no ferrets. That was something I think I mentioned when I was a kid. I was like, I want a ferret. My dad's like, they bite. No.
Well,
ferrets.
Do you have any experience with ferrets?
God, yeah. Let's get a ferret. Let's look like I live in a rent-controlled apartment. I have a lot of bumper stickers on my car. Oh gosh, ferrets are such a piece of white trash nonsense. Freaking, you're like, I live in South Georgia. Have a fucking ferret. It's like ferret people and the people who have boa constrictors. You get up and like freaking fraught with each other. Ugh, ferrets. You know what ferrets are good for? Watching YouTube videos on them.
Yeah.
They run around those little mazes and then they run through tubes. Oh, it's wonderful. And it's fuck ferrets. I mean, fuck pets in general. But that's because I like being able to know that I can leave it at any
right. Yeah. And that's kind of why I have cats.
That's one scene from Heat.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd be able to leave it the second the heat comes around, or whatever that scene was.
There is like a part that is not even embedded that deeply inside of me, which sounds dirty, but whatever. That deeply wants a dog again, because I had a dog as a boy, and now granted, like I had that dog until I was 24, and so he was 14 years old when we had to put him down, and 13 going on 14. Not important. But needless to say, having that long utterly destroyed me. I'm like, I'm never having another pet again.
Right.
But as I get older, I'm like, I really wish I had a dog, because I was house sitting and dog sitting for my aunt and uncle sometimes. And it just gets to you. I miss the companionship, that unquestioning companionship where like you come home to someone who automatically loves you. Now, granted, like it's a two-way street. You also have to provide for this person and in a way earn the affection and be worthy of it. But also, this is someone who looks to you not just as a provider, but as a friend, and who somehow instinctively knows when you're not feeling well.
Right.
And is right and curls up to you. Yeah.
That know when I'm like upset. I have cats. Yeah. I have 2 cats, Socks and Mittens, and they're 14 years old.
I like cats, but I get sad when I come to somebody's house and I can't befriend their cats. They just sort of look at me and then hide.
And that's the thing. Like there are shitty cats, but like my cats are not shitty. They're shitty to each other because we introduced them completely wrong. We had them a month apart, and like Socks was already like dominant. And then Socks became insanely arthritic, and now Mittens is like beating the shit out of him because it's like tables have turned, bitch. So it's like, so we have to kind of keep them. I mean, they don't. They're too old to care enough.
When I sit on the toilet, I look at dogs having good days. There's like YouTube mixes of good boy has a nice day.
Yeah.
That I like. And I like videos of dogs when they can swim in the pool.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That was my grandmother growing up, always, and still does, golden retrievers. Always. Oh, yeah. And she had a pool, and it was having the dogs
Every
in the
day is
pool.
the best day for the golden retriever. I was talking to someone who said most golden retrievers are kind of inbred, so they don't.
Oh yeah, they
well.
have. They have a lot of problems. Like it was like the first one, I forget. I think the first one was just Lyme disease from like, and that's I think a thing that even beyond like getting ticks is like a thing with goldens. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but
that was always my
happy.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just like,
hello.
Hello. Like it
You're
made
my
all
new friend now. Hello.
Yeah, Bojack. It made all the sense in the world for Mr. Peanut Butter to be a golden. Or was he a Labrador Retriever?
Either way, same difference.
But I've always wanted another dog, but I need the ability to leave whenever I want.
Yeah.
Like if you're saying like if you message me and are like, well, I have.
Like I messaged you earlier today.
Yeah, earlier.
Hey, I said yes to somebody a month ago, so we're filming on Sunday.
Yeah, and I need to be able to think about that and not have to rearrange my day around. Okay, well, I won't be here for this long to walk the dog, or That's
why it's nice with a cat because it's like water cooler and big pile of food out of like a drop thing, or if you're fancy, timed release food thing.
Yeah,
and like you can like that's like when I went with my dad and his wife to Hawaii, and it was like they set up a camera outside for the. Like to check on the cats and check on the property, and they just had big thing of water, big thing of food. I mean, they could just check on the cats occasionally, and they're like, "Yep, they're still good." Like they were outdoor cats, and they could come into the covered deck area.
Oh, sweet!
And so it was like, "Yep, all right, cool, they're fine."
Yeah, if I had cats, I'd have to have a house with like a covered deck. Because growing up, we did have cats.
Mm-hmm.
We had the stray that would come around the feed.
Oh yeah, we got some strays too.
Yeah,
we have a stray now that looks identical to my cat Mittens, except Mittens is polydactyl. That's why he's named Mittens, because it looks like he has mittens because he's got an extra toe right there.
Oh.
And there was another one where mom was working from home one day, and she like looked outside and she goes, "What the hell? How'd you get out there?" And she opens the door and reaches down to pet the cat, and is like, "You're not as soft as Mittens." And then turns around and Mittens is behind her. And she's like, "What the hell?" And like it was like identical to our cat, but it was kind of aggressive. I ended up going out to try to talk to it, and it like smelled my cat on my legs and like attacked my leg. I was like, "All right, thank God I was wearing long pants and didn't have to get any shots or anything." But anyway, it was so funny. She almost let this cat into the house thinking it was our cat.
Yeah. It's Maddo. Did we answer this one? The way you were explaining the film makes it sound like it's some sort of experimental indie film. Now I'm compelled to watch it now.
Yeah, the John DeLorean film was kind of
just with some big names in it.
I wouldn't go as far as to say like experimental indie film, because that implies that they're trying to do something more subversive.
Yeah.
And that wasn't this. It was just a documentary that was attempting to present the story as it was, but also kind of jump around
dramatize
the timeline and dramatize like other aspects of it while bringing the people in a very meta way, a fourth wall breaking way into the story, like the actors playing these people. And sometimes you have interviews with the people and then the actors playing them and the within the same scene it'll cut to like actual interrogation footage and then the reenactment footage like somewhat seamlessly, and so that was interesting. Like it's an interesting film, and there are worse things that you could do with like an hour 45 that I think it's worth a look if you're into like cars, if you're into the John DeLorean story, if you're into his whole rise at like Pontiac. It's kind of
but
weird.
even more than that.
Yeah, but like it's also kind of weird in that they don't really hang on that long for the scandal itself.
Especially with the name framing John DeLorean, it kind of implies the whole.
Well, I always figured in a cinematic sense.
Yeah, and I think it's a double entendre, and it's intended that way.
Because I know a lot of times, and I don't know. I think I met someone at a car show who was like, in the community, you don't really want to talk about him in a negative way because a lot of people still view him as having been framed or set up or entangled. And in the film, like his daughter talks about, like, you really need to come to these DeLorean car shows. I really think that you would see, and she mentions how it was so great, like how before the end, he got to see how loved he was. And like, I try not to be a cynical person, but the cynical side of me was like, was he though?
Yeah.
Like, because it seemed kind of like people were interested in the salacious side of it, but that also recognizing that the person that they liked, the person that they respected, was the engineering side of it and maybe like the playboy rock star side of it. But this is also a guy who was kind of like, robbing Peter to pay Paul in the sense. So it was kind of a weird way to get around certain, I don't know.
Yeah. What's next? Who's next?
Eli Burchill. Here's some more money going toward the Southern Stab Part 2. They want us to head south again. That's where the virus is. The Alabama Boogaloo. Just kidding. I can't watch this one, but once again, thanks for the quality content. Thank you, Eli.
Thank you.
Phil McWonder, thank you for the generous donation. Another live stream. Here's $20 to talk dirty to the chat. I talked about thin dicks.
That's true. I think we got that one out of the way.
Got that out of the way. It's an uncanny feeling because then you like start questioning yourself because it's look, okay, jerking yourself off is kind of like hearing your own voice in your head when you normally talk. You're smaller than you think. You're thinner than you think.
That's the thing. That's why I've never measured myself because I don't want to know.
Yeah, right.
I don't want to know. And I know it's like a rite of passage for young males to eventually like measure themselves or
I'll just
whatever.
collect my references and have them tell me.
No, like if a woman's not complaining and my hand is not complaining, then we're good. Those are the only two that
metrics
I need to satisfy.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a good thank you, Eli. Oh, and Phil McWonder. Chris Stockslager, familiar Stockslager. Thank you for the phonetic pronunciation. Sorry, this is beer number 3. What is the oldest car you still 3 Trogs Independent Brewing? What is the oldest car you 3 still desire to drive? So what is a car you want that is the oldest?
So desire to drive or own?
Excuse me. Yeah, that's right. We have to be denotative. Normally I only have 1 or 2 beers, but this is the 3rd. I got to hand it to Trogs. Sunshine Pills, excellent Pilsner.
I've never been much of a Pils
stuff because it's, I didn't like Pilsner. I thought I didn't like Pilsner because I don't like Miller Lite.
Right. No, a fine. Well, if this is a fine Pilsner ale, then count me out. Like,
But Trogs makes they don't make Pilsners.
I think I had it actually when I went to the Trogs.
You're working out,
I'm okay. No, that's okay. I don't want to like share glasses all COVID time. I know we're all safe, but
Double on the shoulder.
It is a Pilsner that tastes good.
Yeah. I think that's
what is the oldest car I desire? I desire to drive. Well, I want to experience everything in the same way. Like it's my buddy Tom's line. My favorite beer is a beer I never had.
Right.
So my favorite car. What car do you want to drive? One that I didn't drive.
Yeah.
So an old car that I want to drive. I've never driven a Corvair. Going back to the 60s.
I want to go get one of those Corvair like vans. I want to drive one of those.
Yeah.
My dad used to have one of those apparently.
A Corvair van. Not the Yanko. The thing is, the Yanko, Corvair Yanko with a turbo on it. What is that? All of 120 horsepower?
Oh, I don't even. I would not know. That's the thing is like for me, I don't go much past the 80s with my cars and knowledge at all. I mean, I drove the Model T when we were in Pittsburgh, and that's getting to drive the Taurus show and the Model T in the same day was so like it's like here's 2 opposite ends.
Yeah,
it was nice.
Both Ford at its most traditional, and Ford at its probably is one of its most experimental things ever.
Yeah, really. With a like nearly Japanese influenced or designed engine, piece the head, all that. But I don't know. I guess for me, oldest, I don't know. I would like to drive. I kind of want to drive like the mullet Camaros, like from the early 80s.
Yeah,
It's just to know, like to see, like, is it actually like everyone shits on them? Is it just because they look weird, or is it like, are they that bad? Would I want to drive an automatic? Like, I don't know. I almost just like want to drive the worst example. I mean, spec'd worst, not in the worst condition, but like
they don't handle like you think they handle. I mean, they were advanced for GM.
Yeah.
They had the same but tuned different engine that was in the Corvette C4.
Right.
But I was not real like people ragged on me because my review of the Camaro IROC was not great. I'm like, this drives on its looks. It looks great, doesn't really drive all that well.
Yeah.
It's just like this. I like twice baked potatoes. You really get to taste. They put it back in the oven. It heaves itself in the corners.
Oh, here's something I'd actually really like to drive: a Chrysler Conquest Turbo or Mitsubishi Starion.
Those are interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
They could be a hell of a lot faster.
Because that's like
they
one car.
They were fun. I drove one that was kind of rat rod.
I remember that with like the like exhaust, the flapper exhaust. Yeah.
I wouldn't call them good because this is 80s and they're going up against the likes of the AW11, the FX16 Corolla, I wish. Of stuff that's legitimately well thought out. And, you know, name your 911.
Right.
This thing was, yes, it's a turbo. It's got an Amiga as a computer. You know what? They're almost like the IROC of Japanese cars. That's kind
of why I'm thinking like I just like Japanese cars more. Just kind of my thing. I don't know why.
Yeah,
it's just kind of how I am.
Too.
But that was one car that my friend's dad had in their garage, like under a cover. That and like a 70s Malibu or something like that. Malibu was under a cover, but I could see the Chrysler Conquest and it said turbo on the door handles. And I was like, that's sick.
Yeah.
Like, what the
Nick,
hell?
You had an Instagram photo recently.
Oh, yeah. Of a Oldsmobile 88.
Oh, Oldsmobile 88.
Yeah.
Real ones. Not the fake ones they made in the 90s.
Right.
Yeah. We were, it was when I stopped in to take a shit in the Cabela's with Cameron the other day. And coming out, I saw an 88 and it was like framed so perfectly against the sky and everything. I just had to get a picture because normally I'm not like Johnny car spotting, although I'm slowly becoming that guy because I saw this, this jet black Cadillac at Sheetz a few weeks back with a skeleton in riding shotgun because of course. And it's like, well, but it was gorgeous. I
don't fear death. I go to the grocery store and my nose is exposed.
It's I was at down there and somebody's nose was exposed. And I just went to the next line. I was just like,
all the freaking time, the freaking nose is exposed. I can't breathe. And you know what? I believe you that you can't breathe. I'll bet you never jogged or ran in your life. I'll bet your lungs are working at 90% all day long, and constricting it in any way makes you huff and puff. You Gears iced tea drinking piece of skook trash.
The Olds 88. So it was something where I remember the Super 88 that we reviewed and how that was a land barge, but a land barge that I loved because it felt like I was being granted something beyond my means, but in a way that I could handle. Because I think a lot of human endeavor is about trying to feel powerful, even if you're not necessarily going to be powerful. And so when I'm riding around in this like steel monstrosity, I feel big. I feel, more than. Yeah. And so coupled with the whole styling of just, how's anybody going to get mad at you driving? It's just something that's so
nice
to look at.
My mic needs to be louder. Okay.
It's something that I think, I don't know. I really enjoy it. Yeah. So granted, as far as like the oldest car that I would like to drive, maybe like a Ford Model A coupe, but only because it was John Boy Walton's car. And I love the Waltons. Greatest American TV show ever made. It's great. Watch it. You have to like buy it one season at a time on Amazon Prime. It's like, I don't know, but that I used to be late to classes in college because I would get caught up watching reruns. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to drive like my grandfather. We called him Papa Hot Rod because he had a 32 Ford that. Picture a hot rod, no top, no front anything, just exposed wheels, exposed big, I guess maybe small, but I don't know anything about cars back then. That's the thing. He passed away, and apparently all of his interest in cars went into me. Nice. Like that was like what happened. My family was like, when did this happen? It was like, oh yeah, about that. And that's like he was working on like a 7 or the C3 Stingray when he passed, and like his friend had bought it off of my grandma then, and then they finished it, brought it by. That was awesome. And, you know, he had for a while daily driven an El Camino, and it was like all the cool stuff that like back then I just wasn't into. And all of a sudden I was into it. But yeah, like a 32 Ford, some like big hot, like classic hot rod, you know, the kind of stuff.
Open wheel thing. There's no fenders on the wheels.
The stuff you'd see at the Bulletproof show. Like, stuff like that. I would love to drive something like that just to know what it was like to
I've never drive one of those like 30s hot rods where there's just like, it's like you got the radiator in front and there's nothing.
Yeah.
It's like everything's held together with the frame below, and maybe there's those 2 thin wires over top of that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like the closest to that is the Falcon that I've driven. Okay. Your Falcon. Like that's the closest I've gotten, which is freaking cool.
Oh, nice. I was driving that just today to go get groceries.
Nice.
Eli Birchall says, okay, we already answered that. Another live stream. Oh, talk dirty to me. The oldest car. We talked about that. Patrick McNeely says, I'm in the same town as Prime Driven, which means Stanhope, New Jersey. There's a guy trying to sell a Grand National for $10,000.
Like a GNX or just a Grand National?
This person says it's a $2,000 to $5,000 car, which means this thing has no. It has a title. It says it's an investment. So I don't know. Maybe the engine's not running. Maybe it runs and drives means runs and drives down my parking lot.
Yeah.
Or down my driveway, which is sloped toward the street. It drives down that.
Yeah. Sometimes stops.
Yeah, good luck to you. I mean, you'd have to be deep into the culture for the Grand National to try to pick up something like that. I wanted a Grand National after we filmed one, and now I don't want one. I've experienced turbo LSs. They are superior to the GM 3800 engine with turbo on it. Ian's Variety Channel again. Thank you. Ian is now smoking a bowl and watching the podcast. Highly recommend the band Wolfpack. Like you need to talk about Wolfpack. I know all about Wolfpack and the Fearless Flyers. If you hadn't heard of it before, of course I've heard about Wolfpack. I always go to Deantown. God, that song's good. I'm so glad that Joe Dart has not gotten tired of playing that because it's like their hit song. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I have no idea. I'm totally lost.
Oh, I got to play a Deantown. We can't play it on the podcast. We go get pulled because of,
reasons.
Jamie says we'll get pulled. It's Maddo with 30 Australian dollars. Thank you so much. Here comes a question from Australia. Would you film one of our Bogenfest car events, like Summer Knots or Power Cruise in a car show style? Yeah. If we come to Australia whenever we're allowed.
Yeah, right.
Because we're not allowed right now.
Yeah.
Can't go there. But I can't wait for Australia. That's the great thing, because I was kind of feeling sad that I would miss the summer during the Rona. Yeah. But now my thoughts is like, because of our travel budget, we can just go where summer is. Whenever this is over, we can just go where summer is.
The thing that I'm missing is that this was like, normally I have my nephew would have my nephew every day during the summer because his parents are working, and this was going to be like my last summer before he becomes a teenager. And once he becomes a teenager,
is he now?
He's 12.
Wow.
Yeah. So like, if once he becomes a teenager, I'm always like thinking, like, what if he arbitrarily decides, like, he doesn't really need me anymore?
Not cool to hang out.
Because like once you're a teenager, it doesn't matter how close you are with the person. It's kind of like your, I don't know, chemicals in your brain change, and you start valuing different things. Now, granted, like, I know enough not to take it personally, and I know enough to say that this is something that should be happening. Like when he talks about having sleepovers with his friends now, like, I'm very happy for him because I remember what those sleepovers were like, and I'm like excited for him.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things where you guys all get to like show up and you have like dudes and you're all playing video games and whatnot. And I don't know, it's cool, but it's also something that's like outside of me. And in a very selfish way, I wanted to just kind of hold on to it a little bit longer. So yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. And it ain't what it's not.
Yeah.
13. So when's his 13th birthday?
Like in February.
Okay, in February, and after New Year's. 13, 14, 15, 16. So in another 4 years, he'll be starting to think about driving.
Oh, he'll start thinking about driving the minute he turns 15 and can get a learner's permit.
Do they still do that?
I don't actually know if they still do
my
that.
situation when I got mine was 16, you get your permit, and then you have that for 6 months, and then you do your test. There's certain ways you can get it early. You can get like your permit at 15 and a half. And like a friend of mine did that, something to do with like his church involvement or something. I don't even know. That was what he told me.
Okay.
But yeah, and he ended up like, 16, he had a truck. He was already doing like his own landscaping business, and he was just like hustling hard.
Yeah.
Like he was going at it. So it was funny because he was like smaller than me, drove a big Ram 2500. It was like, okay. Because he was given like a caravan by his parents, and he's like, nah, traded it in and got like a used Ram 2500.
Sweet.
Yeah. But yeah, that was what I did. And I remember that's the first time I ever I think actually got like physical with my anger, was because I found out, because the plan was on my birthday, we would always go to Knoebels, and the plan was to drive to Knoebels. I found out my birthday was a Monday. I couldn't go. The DMV's closed on Monday, so I couldn't go take the test. So hole in my door. I was very upset that I wasn't allowed to drive on my birthday. And I was like, I had to wait until we got back before I could get my permit. And I was
That's like that old rule,
Yeah.
That weird thing. Like in Penn State, if you turn 21, you can only have beer at the bar. They wouldn't sell you liquor. Like if I were to turn 21 midnight tomorrow,
right. And certain
tonight,
states don't allow that at all.
It's just but what difference does a few hours make?
Right, exactly. It's like,
yesterday I was a child.
It's like, so according to your business clock, I'm still 20, but yeah exactly.
Yeah, it's just like, no.
You got to close the register and reopen it so that it's a new day, and then I'll be 21. Thank you. That's like when I turned 18, I was in Wildwood, and I was like, I'm going to buy a cigar. You got to be 19 in Jersey. Damn it. It was like, whatever.
I remember when I turned 18, and we had, we would almost run drumline practice all the way through summer, like on Wednesdays or like it's like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, starting in like mid-July.
Damn, no wonder your cardio's good.
What?
No wonder your cardio's good.
I'm wearing that bass drum all summer long.
That's one thing I've noticed is now that I have a desk job, I don't work at GameStop. I'm not on my feet for 8 hours a day. I used to be so skinny. Yeah, I was just like, it would just keep me skinny. But whatever.
I do elliptical machine. That helps it a bit. But when I moved in here, I started doing it. I can feel it when I sit on the toilet. I feel like the rolls are bigger. Like, wow, this sucks. Says the guy who just drank 3 beers, and I have a brownie brownie with like. I know I'm ingesting the sugar because it's a dopamine boost, but it's become almost ritualistic. When I'm editing video, I get a coffee, or now I have the espresso machine. I make myself an espresso, and then I make myself a lazy cappuccino, which is me shaking up the milk jar, pouring it in, and then I have that. Like I start off with like plain oatmeal. And then this is dumb. This is a car podcast. What am I talking about fitness for? Cameron, Mr. Regular, loved your Altoona trip videos. Will there be another such road trip soon? Will we film it for RCR? See, the whole idea with the Altoona trip is that I realized that, okay, I'm living off my YouTube channel. I can leave whenever I want. I've never been to Altoona. I'm just going to drive there and get a hotel room and see what it's about. So I filmed it. Now, of course, now 6 years later, I realize that if I go on a trip anywhere, it better be breaking even, or at least be doing something. Yeah. So hence my possible trip out to Cincinnati in 2 weeks. I have to film cars.
Right.
Especially now. When I was living at the old apartment, when my rent was 1/3 of what it is now, I would wrap a lot of my happiness into the trips. I would get so excited for Philadelphia International Airport because I was leaving that apartment. I'm out. I am, and this is me quoting HST, in a Horatio Alger way, I am a man on the move. Here I go, full of purpose and destination. I am a cut above everybody else. See how I navigate Philadelphia International Airport with grace and certainty.
Yeah.
I got my shoulder bag. I got my Admirals Club card. I'm going in. I'm having a light lunch, and I feel full of recognized purpose. Unlike so many people, I feel a genuine calmness in airports. I get into a, let's not call it a Zen state, but a definite flow state as I walk, knowing that I am a delightfully blissful cog in the machine that is air traffic control. The system will provide in here. I remember there has been a few trips, not RCR trips, but other trips that I've gone on where my favorite part was the airport. In a very, just like that movie, The Up in the Air, with George Clooney. It's true. Like most of what people hate about flying, I love. Anyway, so now that we're here, and more emphasis is being placed on the podcast now, and also having guests that are very nice, and thank you for coming.
Oh, my pleasure.
And since going on trips is not a thing, and also because we talked about this before, I believe in Pennsylvania, we can travel to Jersey, Ohio, and Maryland.
Yeah.
All other states, I don't know about New York. Yeah, probably New York State. The city, I don't know. You're expected to quarantine for 2 weeks when you come back.
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
and
you
that's
can go wherever. It's just you got to quarantine for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and that's like
places.
My dad lives in South Carolina now, and he was talking about coming up. Like his birthday's the end of the month, and he's like, "Well, we'd have to quarantine for 2 weeks. That means we're being there for 2 weeks just on quarantine. Like, we're not gonna come up. Like, it's just pointless. And plus, it's hot, and they'd be living in the RV for the time they're up here. And like, forget that. So,
Chris Stockslager, sorry, you should do an RCR story on the Auburn Cord Duesenberg Empire. Now we're going back to Wampa Dampa.
But
it's like
those
pre-war stuff.
Those tend to be the very interesting ones. In a very bizarre,
a lot of knuckled over wives.
in a very bizarre way. And this came up last night when I was watching the DeLorean thing, that I started thinking, because you mentioned how, like, my Pontiac video is still doing well. And I got
your Pontiac video is the most profitable video of 2019.
Hey. Wow, that's unexpected.
Number 2 is Tata Nano.
Nice. A car we didn't even really get to like finish.
Yeah, because it overheated.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But I got to thinking about it, and like,
I have to pee. If we have to move on, we're moving on to that one.
We scroll up with this, right?
Yeah, you have to refresh that screen.
Right. Okay.
But this is like the paranoid catastrophizing side of me, which is that I started thinking, like, okay, if it's that successful, there has to be a reason, and the reason can't be because I did well. The reason has to be because I got something wrong, and everyone's sharing it and saying, look at this asshole who got it wrong, so that they could all go in the comments. And then I look, and there's a suspicious number of comments. And I look, and I sort by new, because as one does, and I realize that, yes, there were some pronunciations, and like little, not enough that I would like take the video down, but like enough that I would be bothered by it. But also, I realized that the difference between me when I started and me now is that I can't let certain comments, like the litany of like, I can't stand this guy's voice, I wish a guy did it.
Right.
Like as if I'm not like a part of it. It's
my
like,
review.
no, it's just that like people like change, and I understand it. And people use the internet to blow off steam. They say things that they probably wouldn't say to
exactly. It's like it's a fire and forget.
But even if they would say it to my face, like I would understand, because sometimes I don't like my own voice. I don't like hearing my own voice sometimes. But like it's a thing where to have the privilege of having a job that I love, that I get to do, the exchange is that I have to put up with a lot of things that other people maybe don't have to put up with in a 9 to 5. And that includes, criticism that is both warranted and unwarranted, things that I can change and things that I can't. And all I can do is read those and try to learn and grow from the constructive ones and, harden my outer shell against the ones that maybe cut a little deeper. Yeah. Because you cannot do a thing like this and be soft skinned, or else you're just going to spiral every single day. And so one of the things that I wanted to do for an RCR story that has been like a dream of mine to do for an RCR story, but I don't know that anyone would actually watch it. My grandmother had an incredibly interesting life. And it's a story that is told through the number of cars that she's owned in various different ways. And I always told myself as a kid I was going to write a novel about her life, and I could just never find a way to tell that story in an interesting enough way. And I never liked how it sounded or how it came out or how it like read. And I'm thinking, like, if anything ever happens, I don't want that. Like, I just don't want the story to disappear with me. Because like, what am I the writer of the family for if I don't do this? Right. Yeah. That's always how I felt. Like, and because I was carrying with me a certain amount of guilt of like that whole coconut mentality of like brown on the outside, brown on the inside, like of that feeling that accosts me like every side of my life of not being Puerto Rican enough. Right. But being Puerto Rican enough to get harassed growing up, but not Puerto Rican enough to be respected as a Puerto Rican male. Right. So it's this strange thing where like, it's something that I could do to not only sort of reflect the depth of my own and the complexity of my own family history, but also to sort of reconcile the different sides of me with who I am and who I've become. And that's always something that has been difficult for me to parse out, because it took me a very long time to figure out who I was and be comfortable with like Nick Roman, the person. And I like being me. And a lot of people say that they're afraid of death because of the unknown. You know, it's the end. The reason that I'm afraid of death is that like, I don't get to be Nick Roman anymore. Like it's because that's how much I like it now. Yeah, that's how much I like me now. Yeah, that's great. And that's something that like I didn't have before. And that doesn't mean that I don't have like bad days. Everybody has bad days. I have, you don't have mental illness without bad days. But every day you're sort of fighting to come out on the other side of it with an understanding that if you're going through hell, keep going. You know? And hopefully you can come out on the other side of it liking yourself too. That no moment is wasted if you're breathing. So
good line. No moment is wasted if you're breathing.
And then how do we even move?
Speaking of dust, Phil McWonder says, if 2020 ends in a nuclear Armageddon, will you be reviewing our Mad Max style war rigs? Clearly. Well, there's going to be no internet.
There's not going to be an internet. It's like, there's
like, I'm going to hitch. I'm probably going to be an old fuckboy on the war rig. That's my skill. Maybe I'll be able to be a black thumb. If so, would you like a flamethrower to mount on the camera car? Well, yeah, who doesn't want a flamethrower?
Of course. But only if you got someone shredding some heavy metal on.
Yeah, right.
I'll be the equivalent of the bullet farm guy, but without a gangrenous leg. It's just kind of, I'm just showing here. If you want ammunition, you can come get it from me. Not because I actually have ammunition, but because I found all of this, and we now live in a barter economy because money doesn't exist.
Right. Bob says, late to the party, no question, just love, hi, and hello, Ben.
Hello.
Hello.
Acoustic Theory says fart fan copy tan hog blah, 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 which was a nonsense phrase they used in the Toyota Tacoma review. I should do more of that stuff, just nonsense. I mean, we have to film stuff in the creepy basement.
Oh yeah.
Oh wait, you have a line where I have to film stuff. Maybe before we leave, I can just get that done.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Like,
I left my cowboy hat inside of the tractor tire at the gym, which you haven't seen yet. It's a video that's coming up that involves me in a cowboy hat.
Nice.
But I remember it's probably still there because no one's going over to the gym and flipping tires right now.
Yeah.
Acoustic Theory. Oh, wait, I just read that. So thank you, Acoustic Theory. Another person, Abner Roman, says, Mr. Regular, are there any good car term glossaries for people getting into cars?
Actually, and he later specified that he would prefer no donut media.
Well, too late because that just came out. So they just came out with a video that pretty much has most of what it's like. Yeah, it's got what you need. That's the thing is, like, I'm amazed. Like, I never thought I'd be the kind of car guy that knew how a car worked even remotely.
Yeah.
And I never thought that I would understand when people are talking chassis codes and engine codes, especially since I haven't like picked one brand to be like, I'm the Toyota guy. But like even just like I'll talk to, my mom's boss and he's got, a C63 AMG with some like tuner pack on it. I don't know. But I can like
that stuff scares me.
Right.
Because it's no fixing it yourself.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So, and he bought it from a friend for a good deal.
But you got to buy that freaking like a tel scan unit thing.
And there's no way he's fixing it himself.
Yeah.
But it's
you can't just throw a Mega Squirt on there and fuck it. And that's why I like American Muscle.
Yeah.
Because even...
But like,
gosh darn it, it's LS motors.
I can
put an LS motors in, you have a Mega Squirt ECU, you are freaking golden. Harleys. I'm back looking at motorcycles again.
But yeah, that's like something that, with all the car terms that I know now. And I mean, sometimes you just straight up got to ask people, like, what are you talking about? You lost me. And then I have another friend who doesn't ask those questions and then says those words like he thinks he knows what he's talking about. And I just don't have the heart to tell him, you don't know what you're talking about. He drives a WRX, but I'm like, are you sure?
See, base model WRXs are like, so what to me now?
Yeah. The new ones, I'm like, you took some chunks out of an Impreza. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not a hood scoop. That's a hood divot.
Yeah. So good tar term glossaries. I don't have an answer for you, other Roman. Urban Dictionary.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Search them.
Bob again says, fun fact, in Swedish, trog means slow, as in slow in the head. So dummy brewing.
Hey, maybe.
Does just what it says on the cap, I suppose.
Exactly.
Hey, Trogs,
there you go.
Makes you
I wouldn't doubt. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt.
Every time I've been to Trogs Brewery, I get fucked up.
It's usually I've only been there once.
It's like 1 to 2 in the afternoon, and I'm hosed.
Yeah, I don't know. It must just be more potent right from the source.
Hershey Park should just have a tram that runs the Trogs.
That's when I went, was when I was going to Hershey Park. I was just like, yeah, okay, well, we're going to go get lunch at Trogs, then we're going to go back to the park.
Yeah, you just walk it off.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like I'll have a flight and every beer is like 7 to 8%.
Yeah.
And you're just, you know that moment when you get out of your chair and you're like, whoa,
gravity changed.
Whoa.
They redid something with these floors.
I think we reached the end of the super chats. Let me do a refresh.
Cream fresh. Sorry.
Cream fresh.
Yep, that was it.
Oh,
that was it with Trogs. We've been going for 1 hour 52 minutes.
Wow, yeah,
so that's a pretty good. I think that's a podcast.
That's a pretty good podcast. Blended Angel is a channel. He teaches people coming into car community. He has an entire series called Noob Guides. Something. Heard about rotaries. Oh, I missed it. We'll watch the replay. Yeah, Garrett, Gene, we're recording it right now on this little guy right here. So you're going to get a high quality version of that coming out on iTunes once Nick does the engineering after we finish this. Definitely look that up. That's really it. I don't know when we're doing another podcast. Even if we do one next week, I kind of want to make this a ritual because there's nothing else to do during the room.
Right. And plus, if we get in, like, it's helping our podcast numbers. So, like, thank you to everyone who rates the podcast, whether it's on iTunes, Podcast Addict, Apple Podcasts, wherever. Your ratings help not only to improve our rankings, but helps us understand, maybe what we're doing wrong. Reviews and ratings and comments and things. So thank you for that.
It'd be kind of funny. Phil McWonder jumping in with a super chat said, how often are you guys planning on doing these live streams? I'd like to catch the next one. Usually, we're going to try to do one every week. But the thing is, because of our ragged shooting schedule, we don't know if we can do one every single week.
Yeah.
Or I mean, like Wednesday, we do a podcast.
Yeah.
We're not at that point yet. It'd be nice, but because sometimes when we film cars, it's based on whenever the owner is free.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's usually like midweek between Tuesday and Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
But it's never set, because the one time we tried to do a set one of like every Wednesday, it's really hard to hold to a podcasting schedule when podcasting isn't your main thing.
Right.
Like if podcasting were the main thing, then fine. But like it's an ancillary thing. The podcast has been around for 2 years and we're still not at 100 episodes.
Right.
Even though there's 52 weeks in a year. It's just something that's going to take
time.
even
like last week, I just commented like, hey, what's up? And you guys were like, hey, come on the podcast.
Josh Rip says, when are we getting a fursuit review? Every now and again, I start thinking about that. The thing is that, like, I have enough knowledge that I could rip pretty hard, but some people are going to take it the wrong way.
Yeah. There's no way to do that without
have any more bikes lined up? No, I don't have any more bikes lined up, but there is one I want to do, and it's a guy down in York. Well, yeah, Ben's bike.
I've got a bike.
His Suzuki GS 450.
No. Honda CM 450.
Excuse me, sir. Superior Honda Master.
Yeah.
Superior Honda.
Yeah. 82. Yeah. It's my first bike was an 81 CM400E, and then it's like click upgrade. One more gear, more CCs, and
one Honda Ruckus more.
A tachometer, a front disc.
You like that tachometer?
It's
like seeing what the engine's doing.
Yeah, and that's the thing is because I'm looking at, I got my Yaris S, and then the Yaris I'm looking at on Saturday doesn't have a tach because it's a complete base model. So I'm like willing to let that go.
If they're
my
running,
Corolla doesn't have a tach.
If they're running the same ECU, a $30 Super Tac 2 would work.
That's
the
what
same way that I did
in your Echo.
With my Echo.
Yeah.
It's probably you just find that little thing and then shove the wire in that port, and then you're golden. You have a tack again.
I'll probably
the one thing is,
especially since it's got that compartment there that you can just like hide it. Like because the thing is in the middle, like the Speedo's in the middle, you can just like pop it open. Like that's where I keep my sunglasses, but I could pop that open and have a tack there. I'm driving.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Derek says Yaris never had tax. Well, you're lying.
Yaris S 2008
has a tachometer.
Has a tack.
Let's wrap this up.
Okay.
It is 7:11, and that's a podcast. So
rock and roll.
For regular car reviews, I'm Brian.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Ben. Right.
Thank you for watching.